Hello everyone, my name is Sarafi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be playing Labrynth. Labrynth is a very powerful deck. It regularly is either tier 3 or rogue in Master Duel. It's a deck that really can't get any worse. The cards are so very powerful and they have so many different flexibilities and ways they can be used that the deck is always going to be just a good deck to utilize in basically any meta. I don't think that an experienced Labrynth player would have issues getting to Master 5 no matter what deck no matter what the meta is, because this deck is just, it's always been good ever since it came out and it's always going to be good. So I want to teach you guys how to play it. There are multiple ways that you can play Labrynth. This is obviously a furniture Labrynth list. You can see that from the all the Limit 2 cards that I have. But I want to kind of explain the benefits of the deck and what the cards do. So for the hand traps, we have 3 copies of Max C. Max C is not nearly as valuable to Labrynth as it is in any other deck, because Labrynth has so many ways to play cards from the deck that cards in their hand don't really matter too much. It does let you trigger some of your furniture cards a little bit more easily to have extra cards in your hand, but for the most part, Max C is there primarily just to scare people into stopping their turn. You just Max C, your opponent stops playing the game, that gives you more time. We're also playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs to stop our opponent from special summoning from the deck. And the last hand trap that we are playing is Infinite Impermanence, which is actually not often a hand trap. It's actually often played as a trap card in this deck, which is completely fine. Now you might think, that's not too many hand traps, actually. Yeah, it's only 9, but it doesn't matter, because the deck has so many ways to interact that it's really, really strong. And this is not a deck that tries to win super early. You are going to win the game on turn 5 or 6 as opposed to turn 2 or 3. So you don't need to be in such a rush to shut down one turn 1, which is why we don't need nearly as many hand traps in this deck. If you wanted to add Nibiru, you probably would be fine to do that. Just understand that Nibiru is going to, I believe you get locked down from something. No, it's just extra deck. Okay. Yeah, you can play Nibiru. It's just not ideal. For the main deck cards, we have Labrynth Ku-Klok at 1. This is a level 1 Fiend monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. As a quick effect, you can discard this card. Then this turn, you can activate 1 normal trap card that was set this turn if you control a Labrynth monster. So as long as you have a Labrynth on the board, you can activate 1 normal trap card that was set this turn. Now you have a lot of ways of setting cards during your opponent's turn, primarily with the Lady Labrynth of the Silver Castle. So Ku-Klok is a good card. If a card is sent from your hand to the graveyard to activate your normal trap card or your Labrynth card or effect, which is usually either Stovey Torby or Chandragalier activating, you can add this card to your hand or special summon it. You will almost always add it to your hand. This is a good card. It's not really needed to be played at more than 1. You just kind of, if you need it, you get it out and then you put it back in your hand with the big welcome, and then you just use it to cycle. We're playing 2 copies of Labrynth Stovey Torby. This is a level 2 Dark Fiend monster with 2,000 defense points and 0 attack points. It is important that this card is level 2 because it can be used to make Chaos Angel with one of your level 8s. As a quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard and discard 1 card. Set 1 Labrynth spell or trap from your hand or your deck. And that's pretty good. Being able to set Labrynth trap cards is really useful. It's basically like Dino Morphia Therizia, and you can do it as a quick effect. So yeah. If a monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. You can only use each effect once per turn. There are multiple ways that a monster would leave the field due to a normal trap card effect, and we'll go over all the ways when we get to the trap cards. So Stovey Torby will be constantly cycling between your graveyard and your field, and then you'll just send it to the graveyard from your field with a card from your hand to use its effect again. We are playing 2 copies of Labrynth Chandragalier. This is a level 3 Dark Fiend monster with 1500 attack and 0 defense. As a quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard and discard 1 card. Set 1 Labrynth spell or trap from your hand or deck. Same effect as the Stovey Torby. The reason why we call this build the furniture build is because Kuklok, Stovey Torby, and Shandrag Lear all have a similar effect of trying to set up cards from the deck and then activate them. And they also all are furniture, as opposed to the butlers and servants of the rest of the deck. So you can either play with the furniture cards as your backup, or you can cut them and play like a more trap-focused deck, where you don't use as many fiend monsters to kind of buff your traps, and instead you just play a ton more traps. Because right now we're running 6 cards that we could be running, or 5 cards that we could be running as trap cards. So it's up to you whether you'd rather have more consistent Labrynth access, or whether you just run a bunch of cards like Torrential Tribute and Solemn Warning. Anyway, if a monster leaves the field by your normal trap card effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. So Shandrag Lear adds itself to the hand, Stovey Torby special summons itself to the field. Perfectly fine. You can use the effect from either side. We are playing 1 copy of Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous. This is a level 4 light spellcaster monster. It is important that this card is a light monster because you can combine it with Arius to make a fully active Chaos Angel. Cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summon from the extra deck. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If a monster special summon from the extra deck is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. Great. Free specials, always good. If this card is normal or special summon, you can activate this effect. Add 1 Dogmatica card from your deck to your hand, except Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. So we will use Ecclesia to draw the Dogmatica Punishment, which is just a good card to use. It is the best way to utilize our extra deck. We are playing 2 copies of Ariana the Labrynth Servant, and we are not playing any copies of the other Labrynth Servant, whose name escapes me. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Labrynth card from your deck to your hand, except Ariana the Labrynth Servant. Ariana is a level 4 dark fiend with 1600 attack and 2100 defense. Those are really high stats for a level 4, actually, but that's, of course, mostly irrelevant these days. Since she's level 4, you can make Chaos Angel with her and Arius, but you will only have the dark aspect activated. If another monster leaves your field by your normal trap effect, you can draw 1 card, then apply this effect. From your hand, either special summon 1 fiend monster or set 1 spell or trap. You can only use 1 Ariana effect per turn, and only once that turn. So Ariana is great. The primary reason that you use her is so that you can search Labrynth. So Ariana draws you your field spell. That's why we're only playing 1 copy of the field spell, because we have so many different ways with the furniture cards to set this card from the deck or summon it, add it to the hand with Ariana. So we only need to play 1 copy of it. We are playing 3 copies of Arius the Labrynth Butler. Arius is a level 6 dark fiend monster with 1500 attack and 2500 defense. During the main phase, as a quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, special summon a Labrynth monster from your hand, or set 1 normal trap card from your hand. If you set a normal trap, it can be activated this turn. Arius is an excellent card because it allows us to activate our trap cards as hand traps. So if our opponent is going first, and we don't have any cards like Ash Blossom or Imperm in our hand, we can Arius, and we can potentially stop our opponent from doing something by maybe Dimensional Barriering, or maybe we Daruma Cannon, you know? So it turns these very, very explosive normal trap cards into hand traps on the opponent's first turn, which is disgusting. When your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your card or effect activation of a normal trap or a Labrynth card except Arius, as a quick effect, you can activate this effect in the graveyard to special summon this card. You can only use each effect once per turn. So, during either player's turn, when you activate a Labrynth card or a normal trap card and your opponent responds to that activation, Arius comes back for free. It's a pretty good effect. It's got 2500 defense. You know, can use it to make Chaos Angel, so not a problem. It's always good to have bodies on the board. Arius is a good card. We are playing 1 copy of each of the level 8s. If we were not playing the furniture build, we would probably play 3 copies of Lady, but we don't really need more than 1 of each. Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle is a level 8 Dark Fiend with 2900 attack and 1900 defense. Your opponent can activate monster effects in response to the activation of your normal trap cards. That's really good. So your normal traps have basically spell speed 3, except against spell and trap cards. You can only use each of the following effects of Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle once per turn. You can target 1 normal trap in your graveyard, set it to your field, but it cannot be activated unless you control a fiend monster. So that's an interesting drawback. If you set this card, obviously you will have a fiend monster because you have your Lovely Labrynth, but If Lovely Labyrinth is removed from the field, then you can't activate the trap card until you summon another fiend monster. So, yeah, it's a really weird drawback, but it's a lot of fun. If another monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect except during the damage step, you can destroy one card in your opponent's hand at random or on their field. It's a good effect. Non-targeted destruction is awesome. Hand ripping is awesome. This is a very good card. Oh, it's important to note that Lovely Labyrinth of the Silver Castle does not have a way to special summon itself from the hand. So that makes it a little bit awkward. You will always special summon it with either your Welcome Labyrinth, your Big Welcome Labyrinth, or your Labrynth, or your Arius. So you have a lot of different tools that allow you to summon this brick, but we are only playing her at 1 because she is such a brick. Alright, next up we have Lady Labrynth of the Silver Castle. Lady Labrynth has much better stats, and she also can special summon herself from the hand, which is nice. Level 8, 3000 attack, 2900 defense. While you control a set card, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. That's really good. We like our monsters to not be able to be destroyed. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If a Labyrinth card or effect or a normal trap card was activated this turn, except Lady Labrynth of the Silver Castle, as a quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. Okay, so if you activated, like, say, Big Welcome Labyrinth, you special summon Lady Labrynth from your deck, then you return it to the hand. You can then use Labyrinth's effect to special summon herself from the hand so that you can have her on the board. It's a lot of extra steps to get her on the board, but at the very least, you still have a body if you need it. When a normal trap card is activated as a quick effect, you can set one normal trap with a different name directly from your deck. This is really good. Lady Labrynth is a great way to continuously fill up your board with trap cards, to continuously make your opponent have to play around multiple things, and because she sets directly from the deck, first of all, you can activate them immediately with the Labyrinth Coup Clock, but also, since they're being set directly from the deck, that effect can't be ashed. So, just a really strong card, lots of fun. Now for our support cards. We are playing 2 copies of Nadir Servant. Nadir Servant is a UR, normal spell card. Send 1 monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, then add 1 Dogmatica monster or 1 Fallen of Albaz from your deck or graveyard to your hand that has attack less than or equal to the sent monster in the graveyard. Also, for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon a monster from the extra deck. You can only activate 1 Nadir Servant per turn. So we use this card to draw our Dogmatica Ecclesia, which will allow us to get the Dogmatic Punishment, and since we are playing 2 copies of Nadir Servant and 2 copies of Dogmatic Punishment, our extra deck is basically full of cards we want to send to the graveyard so that we can constantly use these cards' effects to our advantage. Really good. We are playing 1 copy of Labrynth. This is a field spell. If you activate a set Welcome Labyrinth normal trap, which is either Welcome Labyrinth or Big Welcome Labyrinth, you can add this additional effect to that card's effect at resolution. Also, after that, destroy 1 card on the field. Now, it is important to note that the way Labrynth works, the effect is being added to an existing card. It is not the effect of Labrynth. So, that means that, for example, if you activate Labrynth's effect to add the destruction effect to Welcome Labyrinth, it will not destroy Trap Trick Sarah, because Trap Trick Sarah is unaffected by normal trap cards. Even though it's a spell card that has the effect written on it, that effect is being added to the activation and effect of a trap card. So it is considered to be Welcome Labyrinth's effect, not Labrynth's effect. I know it's weird, that's why I have to explain. If you activate a non-Labrynth normal trap card, except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 Fiend monster from your hand or your graveyard, without targeting. Very important. So your opponent can DD Crow in response to this, but then you can just special summon a different monster. So, really, really good. You can only use each effect of Labrynth once per turn. So we have Stovey Torby, Chandragalier, and Ariana the Labyrinth Servant to search this card. So we only need 1 copy of it. We will play it, and we will have it, and it will be good. We are playing 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier. We are playing at least 2 copies of every normal trap card in our deck so that we can set them with Trap Trick. Normal Trap, declare 1 monster card type, Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Pendulum. For the rest of this turn, neither player can special summon monsters of the declared type. Also, negate the effects of all monsters of that type while they are on the field. You can only activate 1 Dimensional Barrier per turn. So, it is up to you whether you think Dimensional Barrier or the Black Goat Laughs is better. The Black Goat Laughs is a normal trap card. Let me pull it up real quick. The Black Goat Laughs is a normal trap card that says, declare one monster card name. This turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that original name except from the graveyard. You can banish this card from the graveyard, then declare one monster card name. This turn, neither player can activate the effects of monsters on the field with that original name. You can only use one Black Goat Laughs effect per turn, only once that turn. So, I have seen some lists use Black Goat Laughs, and I have seen some lists use Dimensional Barrier. Black Goat Laughs has obviously got the advantage of it being able to prevent link summoning. Dimensional Barrier cannot prevent link summoning because it was made before link summoning existed. But Dimensional Barrier prevents multiple summoning monsters. So, for example, if your opponent activates Branded Fusion and you respond with Dimensional Barrier, you can just say, okay, you can't Fusion Summon this turn, and then your opponent's Branded Fusion just doesn't do anything. Whereas if you activate the Black Goat Laughs in response to it, you could say that they can't summon Lubellian Dragon, but then they could potentially use the Branded Fusion to summon something else, like maybe Albion or Sanctifier or something. I don't know. I don't play Branded. But you get the idea. Like if you're up against Sword Soul and you call Chi-Xiao, then they'll just make another level 8s, like Draco Berserker, you know? So that's why Black Goat Laughs might not be the best option. But Black Goat Laughs does also have the Grave effect where it negates monster effects, which makes it much more interesting. But then again, Dimensional Barrier also negates the effects of monsters that are already on the field for one turn. So, I don't know. I lean towards Dimensional Barrier being more useful, just because it has a wider blanket of targets. But in a link-heavy meta, I could definitely see where Black Goat Laughs would be better. We're playing 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Obviously, target one face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effects. Then if this card was set, then it turns off the spell and trap zones in the same column. You guys know what Infinite Impermanence does, but it's a trap card. It can be, when it's activated, it can trigger Labrynth to revive a monster from your graveyard or special summon a monster from your hand. You can set it with Arius if you need to. You can activate it the turn that it's set with Labrynth Coup Clock. You can set it directly from the deck with Lady Labrynth. So, I mean, Imperm is a hand trap, but it has a lot of synergy with the Labrynth cards. We are playing Trap Trick, which is also a card that can search Imperm if you need to. Banish one normal trap from your deck except Trap Trick, and if you do, set one card with the same name directly from your deck. So you need to have 2 copies of the card left in your deck. It can be activated this turn. You can only activate 1 trap card for the rest of the turn after this card resolves. You can only activate 1 Trap Trick per turn. Okay, so this is a cool effect. You can just make sure that you've activated all your other trap cards before you activate Trap Trick, because it locks you into just 1 trap card for the rest of the turn. But, you know, it's useful to be able to play your Dogmatic Punishment directly from the deck, or you can use Welcome Labrynth, or maybe Big Welcome Labrynth. If you have Labrynth out, then you'll get the pop as well. So, and you could also, not only can you get the pop, but you can get the revive because you're using Trap Trick, which is not a Labrynth card. So, it has a lot of synergy with the deck. It's very useful to be able to just activate a trap card from your deck, basically. I would play this at 6 if I could. It's probably the best card in the deck. Dogmatic Punishment. Target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Send one monster with an equal or higher attack from your extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, destroy that monster. Until the end of your next turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. You can only activate 1 punishment per turn. So it is a hard lock, being able to... You get to destroy one of your opponent's monsters, but then you don't get to special summon from the extra deck for 2 turns. That's really rough. But it's usually worth it, to be honest. The extra deck isn't too amazing for this deck. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 monsters that we can even summon in it. And realistically, we're probably only summoning 1, 2, 3 of them. So, yeah. The extra deck's not that important for this list, which is why Dogmatic Punishment is so good. Alright, welcome Labrynth. This is the card that we are playing the game for. This is a normal trap card. Special summon one Labrynth monster from your deck. Excellent. This is basically Eldritch the Golden Lord, but in a good deck. Also, until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the deck or the extra deck except Fiends. But you can special summon monsters from the hand. So I thought this card stopped you from summoning Nibiru, but it doesn't. If a monster leaves the field by the effect of your normal trap card, while this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was set there, you can set this card. That's dumb. So Welcome Labrynth is a repeatable effect, very similar to Eldritch the Golden Lord, except that Eldritch the Golden Lord lets you like cycle through different effects from your deck, whereas Welcome Labyrinth just constantly repeats itself and lets you summon any Labyrinth monster that you want over and over and over again. Also, there are more targets than just Eldritch the Golden Lord, which makes it a lot better. So yeah, this is a great card. Destructive Daruma Cannon, where you're playing this at 3, change all monsters on the field to defense position face down. Then if a player controls a face-up monster, they must send all face-up monsters they control to the graveyard. The activation of this card is very weird. First of all, this is obviously really good against Link monsters because they can't be turned face down. It's also very good against monsters in general because Book of Eclipse is a good card. But the interesting thing about Destructive Daruma Cannon that a lot of people have brought up, it's very weird, is it affects the player. So it does not say, then if any monster is still face up, send that card to the graveyard. It says, then if either player controls a face up monster, they must send all face up monsters they control to the graveyard. So Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon is a bizarre card because what it does is it outs towers. Any card that's unaffected by card effects, like a Blue Eyes or a that's under the effect of Ultimate Creature of Destruction, or what's another Towers card? Apocalypse Fort Towers. Any card like that will not be turned face down by Daruma Cannon. And then the player has to send that card to the graveyard. And the player can send cards to the graveyard even if they're unaffected. So, yeah, Daruma Cannon outs Towers, which is dumb and powerful. And, of course, every trap-focused deck needs 3 of these, because that's how you out the unoutable. Lastly, for the main deck, we are playing Big Welcome Labyrinth. Big Welcome Labyrinth, special summon 1 Labyrinth monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, then return 1 monster you control to the hand. So this card has more options than Welcome Labyrinth, but it does have a cost of returning a monster you control to the hand. However, in the furniture version specifically, this is actually a benefit because a monster is leaving the field due to the effect of your normal trap card. That means that it triggers the effect of Kuklok, it triggers Stowy-Torby, it triggers Shandrag Lear, and of course it triggers Lovely Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. So you will get all of your furniture cards back in your hand or on the field, and you will also be able to pop a card with your Lovely Labyrinth. So, yes, Big Welcome is very good. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 Fiend monster you control, or if you control a level 8 or higher Fiend monster, you can target 1 card your opponent controls instead, and return that card to the hand. You can only use 1 Big Welcome effect per turn, only once that turn. So Big Welcome does not have the ability to replace itself like Welcome Labyrinth does, but remember that you have Lovely Labyrinth of the Silver Castle, which lets you target a normal trap card in your graveyard and set it to your field, so you can recycle Big Welcome that way, and if you can't recycle Big Welcome, banish it to bounce a card. So, really good card, definitely play it at 3. Alright, for the extra deck, we are playing 2 copies of Elder Entity Entis. Elder Entity Entis, when it's sent to the graveyard, you target a card on the field and destroy it. So, 2500 attack, good target for Nadir Servant. Garura Wings of Resonant Life. This is a winged beast, 1500 attack, 2400 defense. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can draw 1 card. Not the most amazing effect in the world, but the primary reason that we play this card is because it is a winged beast monster. Why is that important? It is because of Tri-Brigade Arms Bucephalus. Tri-Brigade Arms Bucephalus is a Link 5 with 3500 attack points. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send 1 Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. So what we do is we will Dogmatic a Punishment, and Tri-Brigade Arms Bucephalus has 3,500 attack points. So it can destroy any monster with 3,500 attack points or less, because that's how Dogmatic Punishment works. Then, when Bucephalus goes to the graveyard, we can then send Garura to the graveyard, which will allow us to draw a card. So, because Bucephalus is the best target for a high attack monster, we're going to go ahead and put cards in there that have synergy with it. Speaking of cards that have synergy with Bucephalus, Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. During your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target a beast, fiend, or illusion monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So you can send this card to your graveyard from your extra deck by sending Tri-Brigade Arms Bucephalus from the graveyard to from the extra deck to the graveyard, and then Chimera will allow you to revive any of your Labyrinth cards that are in the graveyard, but only during your opponent's turn. Still a really good effect. Then we have Baphomet, the Mythical King of Phantom Beasts. During your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target one of your banished beast, fiend, or illusion monsters and special summon it. One of the biggest problems that this deck has is that it doesn't really have access to the banish zone. So if a card like Lovely Labyrinth or Lovely Lady gets banished, you only run 1 copy of them, you are now out that card. So Baphomet lets you get them back. Pretty slow, but the deck is slow, so you can afford to take plays like that. Next up, we have Golden Cloud Beast Malong. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls and return it to hand. Card, not monster. So, yeah, this is really good for dealing with cards like Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon, that have good float effects that trigger when they're destroyed. For cards that we're actually going to summon, Chaos Angel. We're playing 2 copies of this. This is a level 10 Dark Synchro monster with 3,500 attack and 2,800 defense. It is a fiend, so we can summon it under all of our locks except for Dogmatic Punishment and Dogmatic Ecclesia of the Virtuous. This requires 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner light or dark monsters. For this card, Synchro Summon, you could treat 1 light or dark monster you control as a tuner. So the main ways you could make this, you Stormy plus a level 8. You can use Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous or Ariana the Labrynth Servant with Arias the Labrynth Butler. And if this card is Special Summon, you can target 1 card on the field and banish it. Just Special Summon, not Synchro Summon. And it is not once per turn. This card gains the following effects based on the original attributes used for its Synchro Summon. Light, Synchro monsters you control are unaffected by monster effects activated by your opponent. And Dark, all monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. So that's a pretty good protection. Chaos Angel is very good because it banishes cards instead of destroying them, which means that you can get around destruction protection, which is kind of hard to deal with for this deck, and also you can avoid triggering destroy effects. So what you do with this card, you make your Chaos Angel, you banish one of your opponent's cards, excellent. Then you can link the Chaos Angel off into Muckraker from the Underworld. And Muckraker from the Underworld requires 2 effect monsters, cannot be used as link material, the turn is link summon. If a monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you contribute a Fiend monster instead, but most importantly, you can target a Fiend monster in your graveyard, except Muckraker, discard 1 card. If you do, special summon that monster. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Fiends. So you will summon your Chaos Angel, banish one of your opponent's cards, link it off into Muckraker, discard a card, bring back the Chaos Angel, and then banish another one of your opponent's cards, because it's on Special Summon, not on Synchro Summon, and is not once per turn. So, very, very powerful effect. I've done it in games. It's really funny. Make sure that you play this. We are playing Superstar Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis, which is a rank 12, 2,900 attack, 2,900 defense. During the turn or the turn after your opponent special summon 2 or more monsters from the extract, you can also exceed summon this card by using 1 monster you control with the highest attack. If you do, you cannot normal or special summon monsters for the rest of the turn. While this exceeds summon monsters on the field, neither player can activate the effects of monsters with 3,000 or more attack, which we have none of, except for Chaos Angel, I guess. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, return 1 monster from the field to the hand without targeting it. So, really good effect. Superstar Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis is very similar to Zeus. It's a lot easier to make. It's basically a card you make under pressure. We don't have a lot of materials, so it's kind of hard for us to summon a lot of powerful extract monsters. So, if you need a powerful extract monster, this is a good card to play. The main problem with it over Zeus is that it doesn't have a way to recharge its overlay materials, but the effect is pretty decent, so it's fine. Artemis, the Magistus Moon Maiden. I actually don't know why we have this card in the extra deck. It doesn't seem to have any synergy at all. This was in a list that I saw, which got Master 5 or Master 1. I didn't think to challenge this, and it wasn't expensive, so I just crafted it. But I don't see any synergy with this at all. Sprite Elf, Link 2, requires 2 monsters, including a level 2, so you can basically only make this with either Max C or Stovey Torbu. Cannot be used as link material. The turn is link summon. Your opponent cannot target monsters this card points to with card effects. During the main phase, as a quick effect, you can target 1 level 2 monster in your graveyard, or if your opponent controls a monster, you can target 1 rank or link 2 monster instead, and special summon it. And Sprite Elf isn't that good for us. Basically, the only thing we can use it for is reviving our Stovey Torby, but since Stovey Torby comes back from the graveyard so often, it's often going to be on our field, so it's not that difficult to play it. And if we can combine it with 1 other monster, it basically gives targeting protection to one of our cards, which is not the worst thing in the world. So, that's why it's in the extra deck. I've already explained what Muckraker does. SP Little Knight. 2 effect monsters if this card is link summoned using a Fusion, Synchro, Exceeds, or Link monster as material. You can target 1 card on the field or either graveyard and banish it. Also, your monsters cannot attack directly this turn. It's important to note that it's important that I remind you of this, because I forgot about the requirement that it has to be link summoned using an extra deck monster to actually get the banish, because you don't really make extra deck monsters with this deck. And the only extra deck monster that you would really want to like link this card off into would be your Muckraker from the Underworld, but it cannot be used as link material the turn it's link summon. So a lot of times with SP Little Knight, you won't actually get the Banish the turn that it's summoned. It does have the second effect, which is when your opponent activates a card or effect. As a quick effect, you can target 2 face-up monsters on the field, including a monster your opponent controls, a monster you control, and banish both until the end phase. You can only use each effect once per turn. You know what probably you should do is you should probably cut this Artemis and put IP Masquerena in here, and then you could IP Masquerena into SP Little Knight, and that'll be better, and it'll also give you more targets for your Sprite Elf. And then Bucephalus I've already explained. Okay, that's the deck. Cool. Let's take a look at the replay. All right, we are going second against Trap Tricks. Our hand is Labrynth, Stovey Torby, Ariana the Labrynth Servant, Imperm, Daruma Cannon, and Big Welcome Labrynth. Now, Daruma Cannon I know is a card that's not going to be very useful against Trap Tricks because the link monsters are unaffected by defects of normal trap cards. I don't obviously know it's Trap Tricks until they're normal summon, but once I know that that's going to... Once they normal summon, I know that I can use it for Stovey Torby. So he normal summons Mantis, and I immediately imperm that. Mantis lets him search a trap card. It's not like the best card in the deck, but the link monsters, like I said, are unaffected by trap cards, so this was my only chance to imperm, really. Links into Sarah. We're going to Stovey Torby. We're going to send the Daruma Cannon to set Welcome Labrynth. So we basically can only use our trap cards to special summon at this point. Draw. Okay, I set the Big Welcome, and I'm going to normal summon Ariana. And then I activate Labrynth with Ariana. And this is the part where I kind of figured out what I told you guys about before. Like, my plan was to Ariana and then activate Labrynth, and then use Welcome Labrynth to destroy Sarah. That was kind of my thought process. And then as I'm reading Labrynth, I realized, oh wait, this isn't actually going to work because it adds the effect to the trap card. But it's okay, it worked out. Alright, I'm going to activate Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous from my hand. My opponent is going to max C, so I will respond with Welcome Labrynth. I already have the field spell out, so it's fine. Special summon Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle. Then I'll use the field spell to destroy the trap card. Special summon Dogmatica Ecclesia the Virtuous. He draws a card. He's going to activate Sarah's effect to special summon a Trap Tricks monster from the deck. So he summons Trap Tricks Pudica, and then I draw Dogmatic Punishment. Trap Tricks Pudica will banish my Lovely Labrynth. That's okay. Then he's going to activate the Sarah's effect again, since he activated a Trap Tricks monster's effect, to set Holotea from his deck. That's okay. He doesn't have any trap cards left, so we can destroy Sarah in battle, which is good. And then we pass. We are blocked out of the extra deck because we used Ecclesia's effect. Opponent's going to max C us during the standby phase because they know that Pudica will special summon from the standby phase. We're going to chain Big Welcome here. We special summon Lady Labrynth in defense position to return Ariana to our hand, and then we will use Welcome Labrynth's effect to destroy the Holotea. Max C activates, and then we activate Welcome Labrynth to set it. And now Pudica lets us special summon. That is optional, but since I only have one copy of Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle in my entire deck, I don't want it to stay banished, so I am going to give my opponent a draw to get it back. Alright, the opponent is going to banish Holotea from the graveyard to special summon Sarah. We're going to chain Dogmatica Punishment so that we can trigger a grave effect in response to Sarah being put on the field, basically, so that Sarah will not have a chance to activate. Then we're also going to activate Lady Labrynth of the effect. Since we activated the Dogmatica Punishment, we can set a trap card from our deck. So we set the Big Welcome Punishment. We're going to send Malong. Sarah comes back. We'll activate Malong's effect to return Sarah to the hand. Then we'll activate Labrynth's effect so we can special summon a monster from our hand or graveyard. That is going to trigger Max C, but it's fine. Then we'll activate Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle's effect. I know what you're thinking. There's only one card on the field that's being returned to the hand, so why would I activate this effect? That's because Lovely Labrynth can also destroy cards in the opponent's hand. So I'm just going to try and offset the Max C. Opponent's going to chain link 4 Called by the Grave on the Malong. That's actually fine because Lovely Labyrinth doesn't target. So on resolution, I'll just choose to destroy Sarah instead. Special summon the Ariana. He draws a card. Then we'll use Ariana's effect to draw a Labyrinth card, but they're going to imperm. That's okay. That means that it offset the cost of the Maxi. Opponent has no cards left in their hand to really play, so they concede. That's the power of Labyrinth. Basically, you're just trying to run your opponent out of resources. I had plenty of ways to continue playing. I had a Big Welcome set. When I activated Big Welcome, I could have destroyed another card with my field spell. Then I could have used Lovely Labyrinth to set that Big Welcome back to the field. You know, I had the Welcome Labyrinth that was set from its own effect. So I had extension for days. My opponent was out of resources, and that's the power of Labyrinth. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.